What is up, guys, and welcome back to a brand new video. Today we're back for career mode, my team. I think last week I said career mode was going to be back the next day, and then I think Christmas came, and then I decided to just chill out a bit, and I forgot that I said that, so apologies about that. Surely this old little YouTuber deserves Christmas, or do I not? Who knows? Perhaps I'm on the naughty list for next year for that. But anyway, guys, thank you so much for your patience. We are back for another episode of Career Mode. This is the Singapore Grand Prix, and this is traditionally a very, very strong track for us. For whatever reason, the AI are not strong here. They're not good at low-speed corners. And so, we're going to be, hopefully, a bit more competitive than what we have been previously. So, I'm very much looking forward to rolling into this one with a bit of momentum. Before we do that, we got some upgrades to do. We've got a major brake upgrade. Oh, is that brake upgrade? No, that's tire wear. That's a major tire wear upgrade. That is in the works. And also, we are going to work on, a brake upgrade, which we just put on as well. Sorry for the confusion. But yeah, resources coming in, upgrades coming in. Life is looking pretty gravy. We may be able to do one final upgrade before we head into this race. But it'll go on in time for the next Grand Prix, that being the Japanese GP in Suzuka. So a little cheeky downforce upgrade will not go amiss there. So that's everything sorted from the admin side of things. We're going to go into practice, qualifying, and the race. The last of which is going to be raining middle and the end of the race. So it could be quite a strategic one. So yeah, let's hope that we've got our wits about us. We tend to be a bit stronger in the rain as well, so very much looking forward to a good race. Check out the previous one if you haven't seen it already. We got second up against Valtteri Bottas. Very nearly won that race. We were very strong in the rain in Italy, and again, going to be hopefully on the mark here. We're right in the mix with the top 7 teams. Pretty much the same pace as McLaren, Ferrari, etc. You know, a good setup or just good driving techniques will make the difference now in terms of just the raw pace relative to these top teams. So that's what I'm looking forward to this round. Heading into practice, I did put a time in, but it was an invalid time, so we ended up last. I only did the track acclimatization, and that was it. I fast forwarded on to the next session. FP1 is kind of a irrelevant session because it's done in the day, whereas qualifying in the race is done at night. So I opted to do most of my running in FP2, which is what you're seeing on screen there. We ended up in P8, marginally ahead of our teammate Callum Ilott, who seems to be coming on strong in the other side of the garage. So yeah, it turned out to be, I don't know, it's seeming like the investment in Callum Ilott is a decent one, just picking him up on the cheap, while we were still a back market team. As soon as we got Ilott on board, we took a massive uptake in performance. But hopefully sometime soon, he'll be able to get his first points this season. We'll have to wait and see, though. But that's Friday practice, all dealt with. We're now going to move into qualifying now for the Singapore Grand Prix, where hopefully we can get into Q3. So here we are then for qualifying for the Singapore Grand Prix. We're not going to put too much effort into Q1. We're going to wait for the track to evolve a little bit, and then we're going to go out right at the end. This is probably one of the most OP circuits for track evolution in real life. Not so certain about the game. It's pretty stable. It's pretty consistent track to track, I would say. But because it's so long, there's so many corners, waiting later has a better benefit. We got P14 in the end. It's not a great time. Could definitely go faster. So let's hopefully clean up that sloppiness as we head into Q2 with a recycled set of softs. We were way off the pace. So 1 minute 33 flat puts us in the danger zone as we head into the final couple of minutes of Q2. Need a top 10 position here to progress through to the next session. If we get through to Q3, we have to start the race on the tyres that we qualified in this session. So just making sure I don't take too much life out of these tyres. Through the last corner, cut that absolutely beautifully, and we end up in P3 at the end of the session, a 1 minute 31.6. Yes, we're 7/10 off the Red Bull of Alexander Albon, but we are through into the final part of qualifying. Callum Ilott, unfortunately, just missing out there by about a tenth. He will have the free choice of tyre heading into the race, which, with a bit of rain looming, could be the best place to be heading into the Singapore Grand Prix. We move on into Q3 now, and I've left my last run really late here. We get held up behind Ocon in the third sector, which is not great. That's probably cost me about a couple of tenths, which is not ideal, but we run through the last corner, and up to the line we do a 1 minute 31.5. So somehow we still go faster than what we did at the end of Q2, which was a pretty stonking time in itself. It put us P3 on the grid, but a tenth faster in Q3, and we're P9. So everyone is up the ante in this session. Of course, track is ramping up, I suppose. So that's what it's obviously down to. We need to find a good 3 or 4 tenths, I would say, to be back in the realms of the top 5. So let's see if we can go about doing that. We're not currently up by much, just about half a tenth as we run through the middle sector, really attacking these corners. Bit of oversteer there. The car is really on edge, on light fuel, soft compound tyres. The rears really overheat if you take too much life out of them. We're in the third sector now, pushing really hard, too hard in fact, and we've lost our wing. We've lost the front right tyre, and that was the session. So there you go, simulation damage for you, the slightest of touch, and your session is over. So my PB time of the weekend puts me P9 on the grid, which is a bit of a letdown, I would say, after the high of Q2. I was hoping for something a bit more. Normally, you're a bit more competitive the deeper into the weekend you get with more tyre grip. But regardless, we've got pace. Let's use it in the race.
Against the spectacular backdrop of the Singapore skyline, Formula One returns once again to do battle in what tends to become something of an endurance race, with the notorious sauna-like temperatures in the cockpit making for an extremely physically challenging Grand Prix. It's time to see how our drivers are stacking up after yesterday's exciting qualifying session. Young superstar Max Verstappen starts from pole position, and it's Charles Leclerc in P2. Moving on to the rest of the grid, we have Russell, Gasly, Valtteri Bottas, and Hamilton, Albon, Kvyat, Day, and Esteban Ocon. Islands, Ricciardo, Lando Norris, and Stroll, Sainz, Hubert, Antonio Giovinazzi, and Kevin Magnussen. De Vries, Latifi, Schumacher, and Nobuharu Matsushita. Which of these talented drivers will come out on top today?
Now that we've got some points on the board, let's continue this form and aim for another top 10 finish.
Alright then, let's see what the damage is. It is still saying it's going to rain halfway through the race in the Singapore Grand Prix, so it's going to be awkward, I reckon, trying to stretch the softs until the rain hits. Ideally, you don't want to make a stop, because it's a long pit lane, a long transit time making a pit stop around here, but we're going to have to make the call early, whether we stretch or whether we box really early, get the undercut, and hopefully jump a few guys. It's going to be a tough one, but one thing we are going to do is lower all of the fuel out of the car just to make it as light as possible, because when we get to the rain, then that fuel is not going to be helping us. 5 red lights, and we are underway for the Singapore Grand Prix. P9 on the grid, and it looks like an absolutely shocking start. I don't know how this keeps happening. I'm getting good starts, especially online, but these AI are ridiculous. I think the deeper you get into this career mode, the more ridiculous they get. As you can see, Callum Ilott getting up the inside of Ocon before holding us a little bit on corner X, and here comes Carlos Sainz up the inside into the first of these back straights, but just about able to fend him off. We go up the inside of Ocon into this hairpin, and we're back inside the top 10. Bit of a yo-yo start this Singapore Grand Prix, but let's hope that we've got the pace to run with the race leaders. Otherwise, this is going to be a very depressing Singapore Grand Prix. We've got Callum Ilott right in front of us. He's opted to start on soft compound tyres, which is not the choice that I would go for, given that he could start on any tyre. He's gone for that, but let's see if he's got the pace to challenge the top guys. Doesn't look like it at this stage as we get past him. He's going to have the inside for this next right-hander, but we get the job done on the traction zone and back into our starting position of P9. Alexander Albon, P8, after what was an electrifying qualifying session from him in the first two parts of quali, is down the order a little bit. So let's hope we can stay with this guy and potentially follow him through in this race. The mantra that I've gone for in this race is really high downforce. I think 8-11 wings. The setup that I had was initially 9-11 wings, but I think that would have been a little too oversteery with our package, so I downed the front wing a little bit just to make it a little bit more drivable over the long term, and especially in the race with the rain. So let's see how this works out for us. Albon is looking a little slow here. We're going to get past him with Rich and overtake down the inside into the third sector, and we've just overtaken one of the marquee cars in the field. The Red Bull is only second to the Mercedes in this field, and not by much. So I'll tell you what, lads, we're looking pretty good in this race. P8 in the Singapore Grand Prix. Danny Kvyat up next. The AlphaTauri is a very formidable package in Season 4. I tell you what, if I could leave Marduk Motorsport and go to another team, AlphaTauri would be it. They are a team that is very much punching above their weight, and I very much hope that they're in the fight come next season as well for the championship. But anyway, we're gaining a bit of momentum in this race. The deeper we get into it, the more pace we have. Maybe it's a tyre pressure issue we had in qualifying. As you can see, we went around the outside of Kvyat in the traction zone. We're a little bit slower in a straight line. That's to be expected with the sheer amount of downforce we're running. But we get past him in the braking zone, and we are now up another place. Drivers are diving it in very early on. Albon and Ocon making their stops. Two tongue twister drivers. Albon and Ocon, I always get them mixed up. But it is job done for us. P7, and next up are the two Mercedes of Hamilton and Bottas. The Mercedes are stupidly OP in this season of career mode. You know, Red Bull have had their moments, and they might be having theirs in this race, and Max Verstappen leading the way, who has just made his pit stop, by the way. Into the lane he goes, along with Gasly and Kvyat. No, Kvyat stays out. Never mind. Anyway, we're in the P3. We're on the podium now. Bottas on the medium compound tyre. That is crucial. He is guaranteed a good position come the end of the race. He can wait until the rain hits. So that's going to be absolutely crucial. We're at lap 7. Tyre wear is getting on a bit. I'm trying to stretch this as long as possible. I've opted to stretch in an effort to wait for the rain. And it looks like it's hitting now. That's the first drops on the screen appearing. And when the rain comes in Singapore, it often comes very, very quickly. And with a long lap time around here, you don't want to be caught out on the wrong tyre at the wrong time. You could be losing in excess of 20 seconds per lap on the wrong tyre. So we need to get a move on here. As you can see, Bottas gets ahead of Russell and steals the race lead away from him, rather. You can see I made a mistake there, getting caught up on the back of Russell. Went in a bit too deep. Thankfully, I didn't get a track limits warning for that. But Russell looking quite slow at this stage. We're going to see if we can get past him maybe into this hairpin. His mechanical grip just seems to be absolutely nowhere. We go around the outside in an effort to find a little bit more grip. We don't do so. We don't have great straight line speed. We're just utilizing the DRS to keep us somewhat close. Engineer is calling us in at the end of this lap. So we're going to go on to the intermediate tyres. And I tell you what, this is a call that was much needed, because my tyres wouldn't have gone much further in the race. Maybe another lap or two, and then we'd be in puncture territory. The DRS has been disabled. Perfect timing for us onto the intermediate tyre. People who stopped early are out of this race now. They took a gamble on mediums, and it's not worked for them. So effectively, we've lost about half of the race contenders in this Grand Prix, because they got a bit impatient with their tyres. So we're now effectively in P3 in this race. The only people ahead of us are people on dry compounds. Okay, apart from Bottas and Russell, the only people ahead of us are on dries. So this is one of the Haas drivers on mediums. And then unfortunately, Callum Ilott has stuck it out an extra lap and is on the dries as well. But he'll be boxing in just a few seconds' time. That is Latifi, who has stayed out or braved it on a dry compound tyre. But the people on dries right now are actually in a better position than the race leaders who boxed just a few laps ago, as Bottas gets a terrible run through the last corner. Russell is caught up behind him as well. We go up in a rich and overtake, and we might be able to get both of these guys down into turn one. That is the lead of the Singapore Grand Prix right then and there. Valtteri Bottas broke stupidly early, and we were somehow able to get two cars in one there, effectively leading this race for the first time, effectively leading a Grand Prix since Marduk Motorsport was a thing competitively in Season 3. Only one season ago, but there you go. This is the first time since the rebuild that we've been in a competitive position, and it's looking good.
Bottas behind, they're on fresh inters. We think they've got one more stop. The time last lap was a 2-minute 19.9.
Okay, cool. We lead this race with 21 laps to go. Just taking a moment to just chill out a little bit, calm down, calm the nerves, and get going again. The reason why I was asking about Bottas is I was just checking that he didn't have any issues with his car or something. The engineer didn't say anything, so I'm guessing he's fine. Maybe he was just a little bit uncomfortable with pushing at the early stages of the intermediate tyre driving around this circuit. So because of Bottas's I don't know, conservativeness, we find ourselves in a winning position, but there's still a stupidly long amount of time to go in this race, and we may well see another switch of weather compound tires. We might be seeing a potential switch back to dry compound tires. There was a clear period where it wasn't going to be raining. You can see already that period is now. So in the next few moments, we may be switching back to softs or mediums depending on the tire. I might go mediums just to play it safe in case the dry period is longer than what I was first anticipating. You can see I'm now venturing off the racing line, trying to keep the tires nice and cool. The last thing I want now is, while we wait for dries, for these intermediates to overheat. If they overheat, it's game over. We'll be losing seconds compared to those around us. So just doing my best job to keep it cool. It is quite taxing on the player when we're in tricky conditions, when we're in intermediate conditions like this, and you can see the bulk of the field is into the lane. We didn't get the call early enough to react to go on a dry compound tires, so we're doing the overcut, and a lot of the, as you can see, a lot of the fast cars are held up behind back markers or medium midfield runners, so they're kind of trapped in the Singapore Grand Prix. That's slowing them down. It's almost like a Monaco strategy where they boxed really early and they're unable to get some track position back, which is rather interesting because they're all on a train as well. Everyone's getting slipstream and DRS, and it's a bit of a stalemate for those guys, which is only cementing our position in the top 5 in this Singapore Grand Prix. There's only about 5 or so drivers who can win this, I think, now at this stage. Myself, Bottas, Russell, Kvyat, Ricciardo. Callum Ilott, I believe, is in the mix in P6 or P7, but he's a long ways off our kind of pace. Into the lane we go for medium compound tyres. Again, don't know how long the switch is going to be to dries, so I'm playing it safe by going on the mediums. Hopefully we can bang in a fastest lap or something. Here comes Ilott into the lane, and he's been given the short end of the stick all day, I think, with the strategy being the second car in the queue, having to do that extra lap on dries when the track was wet, and now double stacking essentially on the same lap and getting a slower pit stop. Nice second driver treatment there. But here comes one of the AlphaTauris on George Russell. He goes up the inside into the middle sector, and that is job done for him. That's Danny Kvyat making the move for the podium. Unfortunately for Russell, he's having some car issues, which is actually slowing him down. The engineer told me just a few moments ago. And there goes Russell, now overtaken by Daniel Ricciardo, my future teammate. Yes, I said it. He's going to be my teammate next season already. It's going to be a thing. I've said it. It's happening. Unless he retires from this career mode save, which I hope doesn't happen. Anyway, we bang in a couple of fastest laps, and now the rain is back again. So, onto the intermediate tyres. We did gain a little bit of time in the last stint, in the last round of pit stops, so that was nice, and we actually had the pace to stay in the lead, which was nice. There was a few vulnerable laps for us with the DRS being enabled, where Bottas maybe could have come back at us, but it looks like we've got really good race pace, and that again comes down to the setup and maybe tyre pressures working a little bit better for us in the race than what it did in qualifying. I don't know what it was in qualifying, but we couldn't get a lap together to put us where we needed to be, and again, here comes the second driver treatment for Callum. He drops a couple of places there, unfortunately, behind Verstappen and Carlos Sainz, but he's still looking at a top 10 finish, is my teammate. I haven't had a teammate score points this season, so I got my fingers crossed that he'll be able to pull it off today. But yeah, again, more time gained in the pit stop. That was nice. The gap is now almost 6 seconds to Bottas behind, and we are potentially looking at a race victory for the first time this season at Marduk Motorsport. We're now lapping a Ferrari with Charles Leclerc. It's absolutely unbelievable that we're lapping the top 10. It's not been a good day for those caught up behind traffic. I think those people that we lapped made extra stops or too many stops at wrong times. It just made all the wrong strategy calls to be lapped at a really long circuit like this. Their race must have really gone downhill. Russell, 37 seconds behind me now, which is pretty crazy. I don't know what's going on with the AI now, but they just don't seem to be having a good time of things in this back end of the race. For us, though, we had bundles of pace. I had so much pace at the back end of this race. The car is working really well. I've overtaken Hamilton, and life is just absolutely gravy. We are on the last lap of the Grand Prix, and the gap to Bottas is 11 seconds. All we need to do now is just hold on for the final half a lap of this Singapore Grand Prix, and we're going to come away with a pretty momentous win, having to rebuild this team after becoming a backmarker in the winter break. We were only faster just than Williams, and we have somehow rallied the troops, brought this car back to the front here in Singapore. It's a race win once again.
That's a race win. You've really been great today.
Oh man, it is good to be back here on the top step of the podium once again. Marduk Motorsport is back, and it's only taken for the OP conditions on the OP track with some silly strategy calls from 50% of the grid to get us here, but it's a win. But to be honest, I feel like we deserve this win. We cemented our place at the top by having the pace over Bottas in the dry, but especially in the wet. We looked very strong. Pit stops were on point by the team. We gained a lot every time on Mercedes. Maybe not good positioning for them in the pit lane or something, but it doesn't matter. We won the race, and that's all that matters. We move up to 8th in the drivers. 57 points. I wonder if we can get a couple more drivers, maybe Danny Kvyat, Daniel Ricciardo. Callum Ilott gets his first points. That one snuck under the radar. But great job from my rookie teammate. It only is, I don't know how many races he's done, but I reckon he can count it on one of his hands. He has points for Marduk Motorsport, and that is absolutely phenomenal. Guys, thank you so much for watching. Smash a like button if you enjoyed. Subscribe to the channel if you're new to see plenty more racing game content. The first video of 2021. The first career mode video back in over a week. And I hope that was worth it. Until the next one, Japanese Grand Prix. More upgrades are on the way. Continue to join me on this journey. And let's see if we can take the fight back to everyone come Season 5.